Welcome into the 4th edition of our video podcast, Musings from the Mountains. I am Keenan Cummings. Probably felt it would be appropriate if we actually introduce ourselves, which we have not done through any of the first three. I'm Keenan Cummings, managing editor of WVSports.com.
And I'm Patrick Kotnik, staff writer at WVSports.com.
We're here to provide you some insight, some takes on what we were able to see. Unfortunately, we saw nothing today. West Virginia was in full pads. We were not. We were not able to view practice today. We instead were given an opportunity to talk to offensive assistant coaches. Those offensive assistant coaches were the four outside of Matt Moore who spoke the other day and serving as the offensive coordinator. So we got Chad Scott, running backs, Travis Trickett, inside wide receivers, tight ends, Sean Rigg, quarterbacks, and Xavier Dye, outside wide receivers. Some interesting tidbits. Once again, we did not see practice today, but we're able to kind of pull some things, ask some of our questions, kind of determine what the direction of the team and a little bit about how they plan to use certain positions. Something that caught my attention yesterday that Neil Brown talked about was the use of the running backs. So I sat down with Chad, had a little bit of discussion about what exactly their plan is. They want to use a lot of 20 personnel, a lot of two-back sets. That's not just talk. That's something they really want to try to implement. They're going to be using the running backs a little bit in the passing game, more than they have in the past. They want to be able to mix those guys in and out. Versatility is kind of the name of the game. Up and down the board, every position. They want their wide receivers, they want their running backs, they want them all to be versatile. They teach all of them the same motions, the running backs and the wide receivers, so they understand what they have to do. I think you're going to see Alex Sinkfield, Kennedy McCoy as two guys that could possibly be in that role. You could have West Virginia in a two-back set. They could put one of those guys in the slot, show some different positions, and the same thing can be said for tight end. They want that position to be able to play tight end, inside wide receiver, and even some fullbacks. So you're going to see a lot of moving around, a lot of mixing and matching there, a lot of motion. The whole thing is to get up to the line, and you don't necessarily have to snap the ball fast, but they want to present that they're going to snap the ball fast to keep defenses off guard and to be able to throw a lot of different personnel looks at them without having to substitute. That stresses the defense in a lot of different ways.
And you mentioned the two-back sets. That's something I remember Chad Scott saying during the spring, is that the advantage of having these two-back sets are you have these running backs capable of blocking, capable of catching the ball out of the backfield, capable of course, running the ball. When you have that, especially when you have that with four different backs, that keeps defenses guessing.
Yeah, and I thought one thing very interesting that Chad talked about today. In the spring, I sat down with him and asked him, what's your utilization plan? How do you want to use these guys? What is going to be important to you? Do you have a cutoff? Do you play a hot hand? Do you have 2 or 3 guys? He said his plan coming in was 2 guys that are going to be the guys, and you're going to have a third that is going to be a mix and match type guy, could do everything. You think of Alex Sinkfield could probably fill that role. Scrap that plan. 5 days into fall camp, you can scrap that plan. The plan is now to get as many of these guys on the field in as many ways as possible. The strength of the team, the strength of this team right now, if you talk to anybody associated with it, is at running back. And West Virginia wants to be able to utilize those guys, get them in space, get them the football, and now the goal now, the challenge now, is going to be find creative ways to do that.
And I got to talk to quarterbacks coach Sean Reagan, and the $1,000,000 question seems to be is who will be the starting quarterback for West Virginia this fall?
We didn't find that out today.
No, not yet.
Not sorry. Spoiler alert.
Not yet, but he was asked, what does Jack Allison, what does Austin Kendall, what does Trey Lowe, Jared Deggy, if his waiver is approved, what are one of those guys going to have to do to separate themselves from the others? And I thought it was interesting. Reagan said the main focus right now in the quarterback's room is for them to make confident and decisive decisions. We've seen a lot of inconsistency so far. All have showed flashes, especially he said Jared Deggy is one who's only been here since the summer, since transferring from Bowling Green. But he's coming along fast. He's adapting too. Jack Allison is someone he said is really working on not drifting as much in the pocket, and he's someone who needs to stay disciplined as well. Trey Lowe, he said, has made a lot of strides since the spring. Austin Kendall, even, he said, his comfort level starting to pick up. He's starting to feel more comfortable as a leader. But the biggest thing for them is, of course, consistency, and there just seems to be a lot of overthinking going on. That's one thing he stressed to the quarterbacks and Austin Kendall is when you see something, pull the trigger. Don't think about it, just pull the trigger.
Yeah, it's a lot like Matt Moore spoke about the offensive line the other day. It's not necessarily how you look on your best days, it's your worst days are not too bad. You don't want your worst days being terrible days. Obviously, a quarterback, your worst day turns into an interception, a pick six, mistakes that are going to cost you football games in the fall. So that's what West Virginia has to find right now in this quarterback battle. The situation with Daggy is going to play itself out. You know, we'll eventually find if he's going to get a waiver or if he's going to have to set out. But for now, you have to work under the pretense that he probably isn't going to be there. You can't count on him at this point. So you got the 3 guys that worked in the spring until said otherwise, and it's going to be a battle going throughout. Another interesting thing for me, I asked a little bit about some of the younger players. You know, you always get comments about younger players, how they're doing. Freshman wide receivers. Ollie Jennings is playing outside wide receiver, and the word that kept being thrown around for him, the buzzword, is natural. You know, he's got all the physical abilities. He knows what to do. He's put in work in the summer to get to a point where he has a chance to contribute. So I think that, I don't want to say, you know, expect 50 catches, expect whatever. I think putting a number to something like that right now is sort of ridiculous. But I do think that he has a chance to contribute. Same with Winston right on the inside. Smooth is his buzzword. You know, natural for Ollie Jennings, smooth.
Cue the song.
Yes, cue the song.
By Rob Thomas and Santana.
We should actually, if we once we'll get music here soon to add to what we're doing. But those are the things that I were able to gather from the coaches. Talked a little bit with Xavier Dye about how he plans to utilize his position. It's going to be, he wants his guys ready. You know, there's no cutoff. He doesn't want necessarily 8 guys. He doesn't want 10 guys. He doesn't want 4 guys. He wants all of his guys to be ready and roll them in as they can, really. I mean, if they're going to substitute, they're going to have to substitute. So they want guys to be ready and guys to be able to compete. He did say that, kind of echoing what Neil Brown said yesterday, he feels a lot better just about the makeup of what he's got now compared to in the spring. And I think that's obvious if you watch practice, Patrick. I mean, it looks different. You know, Bryce Wheaton obviously has made strides. Sam James, you know, go down the list. And
guys are getting reps.
Yeah, guys are getting reps. Guys are getting better. And that's what you want in fall camp. Really excited. Tomorrow we're off. There will be no podcast. I'm sorry for those out there that are hanging by a thread to listen to this. There will be no podcast tomorrow. What we are going to do in the future, though, I've been thinking about this, and I think it would be really pretty fun, is take your questions. You know, answer some of your questions in this format. Might be getting into one of those next week. We will be back at it Thursday, though. It is the first practice that we will be able to see in full pads. It's a 30-minute session, but we're excited. We're hoping to see some hitting, maybe some Oklahoma drills if we get into that at least, something, just a little bit of pads popping to get everything excited. But this has been another edition of Musings from the Mountains. Thanks for tuning in.